Hey everybody, thanks for tuning into my YouTube channel, Chainstitch Embroidery. Today I have a very long and detailed video on how to make this tabletop. So this tabletop is made from a upcycled dining room table, and basically it's 1 inch thick solid oak that I got from the marketplace. It was a dining room table, and I actually got enough wood out of one table to make 2 tables. So it's really a great thing to buy and use for a tabletop. The dimensions of this table are 39 inches long by 18 inches wide. That's about the smallest that you want to go so that you have room to do your work and your fabric rests on this side. So basically in this video I'm going to go through everything with the dimensions of the hole that you cut into the table and how you make it and what tools you need. So this tabletop tutorial, it's going to show you how to put your machine in a hole that sits on top of the table. So all you need is a jigsaw and a drill. You don't need a router or really any very specialized woodworking equipment. This tabletop will fit a Singer 114W103 or similar model, and it will also fit a Mauzer International chain stitch machine. So basically for my setup, what I've done is I've put it onto a treadle base. This is a Singer domestic treadle base that I've modified and stretched out by extending it with these 2 black pipes here to make it wider to be able to fit an industrial machine. That's kind of a separate topic, and I'll cover that in another video. But for today's video, I'm going to give you in-depth instructions on how to build the entire tabletop, and then you can of course put it on whatever legs you want, an industrial sewing stand or treadle base. You really do need to have a sewing machine base because you need the pedal to operate either the treadle wheel in this case or the servo motor. So basically today I'm going to try to just go over how to make this whole table from start to finish and then get your machine in and up and running. So hopefully you'll enjoy this video, and I really hope I can inspire some of you guys to take up chain stitching and to start creating your own tables. I want to say that if you need some help and resources, please join a Facebook group. The name of the Facebook group is Chain Stitch Embroidery Machine, Singer 114W103, Cornelli, and more. There's lots of very experienced people in the Facebook group that can help you learn and troubleshoot your machines. Okay, so thanks for watching, and now stay tuned for the rest of my video where I go into a lot of detail of how to build this tabletop. Okay, thanks guys. Hey everybody, I'm here outside. I hope you can hear me over the 17-year cicada that are making noise in the trees. I wanted to do a kind of a full video on how to do an easy treadle or chain stitch table. So I wanted to show you how you can do it using some basic tools. This piece of wood right here is 1 leaf from a dining room table that I have cut into a rectangular shape. You can see it was an oval, and it still has I left a little bit of the oval on the edges. I'll probably sand that off later. But basically what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to make a cutout in the table that the chain stitch machine can fit in. And this should be able to fit either a Singer machine or a Mauzer machine. So I'm going to go over how to make the table and the sizes and what tools you need and all that kind of stuff. So hang on for hopefully a good how-to video. Okay, so I'm going to go over the table setup and what you need to know. So right now I have my table sitting on 2 little benches that are the same height, and I do have it clamped here and here to the bench so it won't move while I'm cutting and sawing. So the tools you need are basically a jigsaw and a drill. I happen to have a cordless drill. The jigsaw is regular. And then I have a wood rasp and also a circular rasp. That circular rasp is like the best tool ever. It's super awesome for shaping wood. So basically, this is my table here, and I've done my layout where I've taken some measurements before I started this, and I marked this is the leg of my table is going to be here, and I'm going to have 1 inch on the right side of my leg. This table right now, it's 39 inches long by 18 inches wide, so it's not a very large piece of wood. Most industrial sewing machine tables are 48 inches long, so this is kind of on the short side. So over here, you want your cloth and your fabric that you're working on to be able to lay on the table and not flop off, because that will create tension as you're sewing. So I tried to leave the most wood on the left side here and the least amount over here on the right side. So I'm just going to tell you what I'm doing. This is the way I do things. It may not be right or the best way, but I'm trying to make it simple and easy for anyone that doesn't have, you know, a lot of carpenter experience to do this. So I sort of just winging it as I go along usually. But anyway, so that's how I laid out my table. I'm going to be putting this onto a stretched domestic treadle, so I can use the treadle wheel, or I will have room over here inside the leg to put a servo controller and servo motor in the back. So basically, this is my sewing machine cutout dimensions. I'm sorry about the shadow, but basically the sewing machine rests on these 4 corners here that I'm going to leave in the wood, and then I'm going to cut out everything inside of here is all going to get just straight cut out. So the machine is just going to drop right down into the hole, and the edge lip of the machine is going to rest on the wood. So the machine's actually going to kind of sit just on top of the table. If you want to get into a more advanced table, what I found the easiest thing to do is you do this first cutout all the way through your table using the jigsaw, and then you come back, you put your machine in, you trace around your machine, and then you can route that, and then the machine will drop down so that the bed of the machine will actually be level with the table. But that's like sort of a second phase, or a little bit more difficult, that I'm not going to do right now. Okay, so I measured my machine, and I have a Singer 114W103, and I also have a Mauzer chain stitch. Either machine should fit in this cutout. The Singer is just a little bit bigger than the Mauzer machine, but I'm making this table so it can be used with either one. So basically, I'm going with 3.5 inches from the edge of the table to my cutout. So I have measured 3.5 inches, and I've drawn my first line, and this is the line I'm going to cut. And then from the edge of my table, I know that my leg is going to be here with 1 inch. So then I've measured over, I know that on my table, my treadle wheel is located 4 3/4 inches away from the outside of my leg. So this line here represents the belt. So that's where my belt's going to be. And then the machine, the hand wheel, is approximately 1 1/2 inches away from the machine. So I know that the edge of my machine cutout is here, which gives me 1 1/2 inches away from the belt. Okay, I'm trying to go slow, guys, so hopefully this makes sense. Okay, so my my cutout for the machine is 7.5 inches wide by 16 1/8 inches long. So I basically put blue tape all over my table, and I marked my lines where I'm going to cut. Then I came in and I marked my corners. So for example, my first corner, I needed to stick out 3/4 inch by 7/8 inch. So I marked these sizes, I drew a triangle, and then I just kind of rounded it off with the Sharpie. So this corner, which is the furthest corner away from the operator, I need 7/8 by 3/4 inch. Same thing down here on this corner, 7/8 by 3/4 inch. I make a triangle, and then I just drew this like little top of the ice cream cone by hand. And so this piece of wood right here and a little bit along the edges is what the sewing machine is actually going to rest on. And this rest is going to be an open hole here. I'm going to cut all the way through. Okay, so I'll come over here. Now this corner, the shape is a little different. Excuse me, the shape is a little different here. So I have 3/4 inch here on this triangle, and I have 1 1/4 inches here on this triangle. So I mark those sizes, 1 1/4 inch, 3/4 inch. I draw a triangle, and then I just make myself a little rounded ice cream cone top or semicircle. Okay, same thing over here, except it's also like a mirror image. So over here I've got 1 1/4 inches, 3/4 inches, draw your triangle, do your circle, okay? And like I said, I know my belt's going here. These dimensions from the edge of the table are not really critical right now, because the main thing I'm going to do now is make the hole for the machine, and then I'll test it on the table and, you know, make sure everything's lined up. I do like to use a laser level when I'm trying to locate things like the belt and the hand wheel and where to put the holes. It makes things much easier. Hopefully I can get to that later in the video. So this is a little bump out here. There's a little bump in the back of the machine, and also that's where hinges would go if you have a Singer. So I'm actually going to cut this little thing out here. And the edge of your cut and everything doesn't have to be very neat, because the machine, the top of the machine is actually going to overhang the cut, so you won't even see this cut. So basically my dining room table is already finished, and I did cut the edges to make it square because it was an oval. So I'm just going to stain this edge, and I'll do that later. So I'm going to start to jigsaw out my hole here. So the basic premise behind this is I've got this big blade in the jigsaw. It's got some big teeth, so it's just going to give me a fast, rough cut. And then what I'm going to do to start is I have the drill here, and I have a 3/8 inch size drill bit in the drill that is bigger than this blade, and I'm going to make a couple holes with the drill, and I'm going to drop the blade down, and I'm going to saw the straight parts, and then I'm going to switch to this blade, which is thinner than this one, and it'll do the curvy parts. Okay, so I'll put you in the phone holder and get started. I'll show you how this goes. I'm sorry this is going to be kind of a long video, but for those of you that have never done this or don't know how, you know, I just want to show you how I do it, because anyone can do this kind of thing. Just have to have a couple basic tools. Okay, so hang on, I'm going to put you in the holder and we'll get started. Okay, so right here and right here, there's little bump outs in the machine. So I'm going to start my cuts here for the front and back cuts with my hole right in the center of my line. So I'm just going to get my drill, going forwards would help. Get my drill on the hole and just make a hole for my saw blade. So this oak is really hard and my drill bit is very dull. Okay, there's one. I'm going to go over here. Hopefully y'all can see this. Oh, I'm in the shadow, aren't you? Let me flip you to the other side. Hold on. Okay, hopefully that's better. Hopefully you can see better. So now I'm going to make my second hole here for the jigsaw. Does not have to be accurate. Kind of pushing and wiggling on the saw because my bit is dull. If you're wondering why my drill is wiggling. Okay. So that's that, and then because the jigsaw can't start a hole, I need to cut drill holes on the sides to go with the jigsaw to make the straight part here. So I'm gonna do it a little bit off of the corner piece, and that way I can leave a little bit of wood, do my fancy stuff, and then come back and cut that last thing, and the wood will drop out. So I'm gonna go with my drill on the inside of my cut line. poke is very hard. Okay, so then I'm going to go over here. Can you all see that? I'm going to go over to here, and I'm going to drill another hole here, just a little bit away from my corner, and then that just leaves it just a little bit to cut to finish the piece. So I'm going to go a little inside, start my hole. Okay, so now I'm going to take the jigsaw and cut the straight lines as best I can up to the corners, and then come back and do the corners and cut the last two little pieces that I left here. Okay, so I'm going to plug my saw in. Trying to make sure you guys can see. Okay. This is a really old saw, but it works. Let me zoom in for you here a little bit. It's kind of hard to see. Okay, so I just go right up to the ice cream cone part that I'm making, and I'm not going to cut this section here because I'm going to leave that to hold this middle section in place while I cut most of everything else, if that makes sense. So I'll come back with a little saw and cut this. So I'm going to do this line and that line. Okay, so I just stopped just before this. Now I'm going to go and cut the other 4 lines, and I'll be right back. Okay, so welcome back. Now here we are. I drilled the starter holes. I cut the straight sections with the wide jigsaw blade. Then I put in the skinny jigsaw blade, and I went around and I go off the straight cut, but you have to kind of start it crooked. Go around this way and then turn the saw around, finish off. So I've done the 4 corners now with the skinny jigsaw, and now all I have to do is come back and cut this line, and the whole thing will drop out, and hopefully, fingers crossed, my machine will fit. So I almost forgot. I had to cut this little thing out and that little thing out, and now I gotta make these kind of round things here. So I'm gonna use my my tool that fell on the ground, my round rasp. I'm gonna show you how I do this one here real quick. These I just cut out with the jigsaw. It's a little rectangle. I made 2 straight cuts in, and then I went from this side and then I went from that side. They're not very pretty, but it doesn't matter really what it looks like. So now I'm gonna put you in the holder. I'm going to take this thing And I'm just make this a little bigger. Not really sure how big to make that. I think this is a 1-inch round rasp. Hopefully you can see that. It made a pretty nice hole. I'm going to go over to this side. I'm going to do this one real quick over here. Kind of stopping to check to make sure I'm doing the right place. Okay, so that's that. Hopefully that will work. It's a little crooked. It doesn't matter. Nobody's going to see this. It's all going to be under the machine. Okay, so that's my hole. It is got the little rounded things, the 2 things in the back for the bump outs that are where the hinge go for the singer, and the 2 things in the middle. Okay, I'm going to go get the machine and we'll see if it fits. Okay, so here we are. The machine fits in the hole and we're done. And now I have to make a some holes over here for the belt, but I'm going to have to put it onto the tabletop for that. So that'll come a little bit later. But basically, I did my cutout, and this probably didn't have to be as big as it is because I can see this from the front, but that's okay. So basically, the machine is now resting on the 4 corners of the wood that I left, those little ice cream cone things. And you can see that it's sitting on top of the table, actually. I wanted to leave as much wood as possible for it to rest on top. So it's actually resting on top of actually this, I guess, this whole front edge here. And then if you want to later, you can come back and you can route it so that this would be flush. But it's fine. You can get your piece across this, no problem. You know, it's not a big deal as far as working goes. The main thing is, you know, that it's in the table. So basically now I have to get my legs, line up my legs with the table, and then prepare to make a hole for the belt, so the belt can go in. So that's it. That's how you you cut a table and make your machine fit. You know, you can get more fancy. Like I said, if you want to take a router, after doing this part, now I would take all this tape off, and then I would put some new tape on. I would trace around my machine, and then I would route the edge down to maybe 3/4 of the depth of this, so my machine would sit, you know, kind of flat down in the table. But this is workable. This is simple to do and very easy, and it's very cost effective to do it using a piece of a dining room table. So I think it's really nice looking. And get this onto the treadle legs. I guess that'll be video part 2. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, leave a comment on YouTube, or please join the Facebook group that talks about chain stitch machines and embroidery. I'll leave a link to the Facebook group in the description of this video. There's lots and lots of experienced people in the Facebook group that can help troubleshoot and walk you through different machines. So this machine right here is a Mauzer International. It's a clone machine, and they are being produced by Embroidery in India, and they're available for purchase now. So they're a great machine. I have a lot of other videos on YouTube, how-to videos, talking about how to get your machine threaded, get going, how to do work. Mostly just trying to share information on the chain stitch machine for everybody. So hopefully this quickie table helps, and I will post an image with all of the dimensions in the video as a still shot for you to look at the dimensions that I used. Okay, thanks for watching. Okay, so I was test fitting the Singer machine, and it was a little bigger than the Mauzer machine, so I had to make a couple modifications. And now I'm going to test fit the Singer. So what I did, what the changes were to fit the Singer, was I enlarged this side and I made it 1/8 of an inch bigger. So the distance now from here to here is 16 1/4. and the Mauzer will still fit in here, but I just needed to make it a little bit bigger for the Singer. And also I had to cut off the top of the cone and make this just a triangle. So I had to make that a triangle and make that a triangle. And that's all I had to do. And now both the Mauzer and the Singer should fit in this table. So hang on, and we'll go get the Singer and we'll test fit the Singer. Okay, so there we have it. The Singer is in the hole. Just had to make it 1/8 of an inch bigger to fit the Singer machine. So that concludes making the table cutout, and I'm happy that both the Mauzer and the Singer fit in here. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just round off those 2 edges, because this was a dining room table and I cut it to make it a rectangle. I didn't want to get rid of all of the width, so I left a little edge of the table here, because otherwise to cut that off I would have had to make the wood too small. So I'm going to maybe just rasp that off, or actually maybe I'll just jigsaw that corner off, round it off, and then I'm going to stain the cut edges and make 2 holes for the belt, put it on my legs, and I'm ready to start stitching. So hopefully this will help you guys if you need to make a table. This wood is from a leaf of a dining room table that I found on the marketplace used. It is, as you can see, it's solid 1-inch red oak, and so now I've got both my machines fitting in my hole, and I'll be back with the other part of my video with putting the belt on. Thanks again. Okay, so welcome back. I have sanded the edge of my wood table, and I brought it inside and I set it on top of my treadle base. So basically what this is right here is an actual working treadle base. It has a treadle wheel here, and it's operated by the pedal. You pedal back and forth and the wheel spins, and it'll drive the belt and it'll work the machine. So what this is actually a domestic Singer treadle that is very common. They're very easy to find, but the way I modified it, it will fit an industrial machine. So what I did was, over here, the Singer domestic treadle is actually attached in 4 places by just 4 bolts, and the 4 bolts holds the wheel and this brace thing in between these 2 legs, and it's only attached with 4 bolts. Now what's important here is that the Singer, the later Singer domestic treadles, the pedal is all part of this base. So the pedal is all part of the middle section of the legs, and it comes apart with just the 4 bolts. So what I have done is I have actually added this little thing here, and I have actually stretched out the domestic treadle so it will work with an industrial machine. And you can put any kind of industrial machine on this treadle base and use it. So why have I done this? I have done this because I'm involved with other industrial machines, and industrial treadle bases with the wheel are very, very difficult to find. I think when electricity came about and people started getting motors, sorry, my phone cut off. They went and they threw all the wheels away and they put motors on. So it's really hard to find an industrial treadle nowadays. So the domestic treadle, which is this, is very easy to find. And if you just do this by stretching it with these 2 parts here, which is very easy, I can explain that a little later, but it's basically just 2 bolts and a couple nuts and some washers, and then there's a piece of copper pipe that makes it look nice and covers the threads of the bolt. So anyway, on with the table modification. Basically, if you're putting your machine on something else, I'll go into how to make this modification a little bit later, or maybe I'll have to do another video on that. But let's just assume you have now stretched, or you have a treadle or a table legs, and you've got your hole cut in your top, and now you want to mount your top onto your legs, whatever kind of legs you have. If you want to do a servo, that's fine. You just need to find legs and a pedal. And so most industrial legs come with some kind of bracing and a pedal. I like the look of the treadles, so that's what I'm using. And like I said, this is just a regular domestic treadle. So basically, I've set my wood on top, and I've got my machine in the hole, and then I've got, actually, if you can see it, I have a laser level, and the laser level is lined up right on the wheel of the machine on the big pulley. Okay, so let me zoom in here and I'll show you this. So on the Singer pulley, there's two places where you can put a belt. Here's one and here's another. Let me show this a little better. So the belt can go riding in this V groove, or it can be riding in this V groove. If you want the slowest speed possible on your chain stitch machine, you put your belt in the bigger pulley, whatever round thing on the hand wheel, and you get the smallest pulley possible for your servo motor, which is a 40 or 45 millimeter. You put that on your motor, so you put the small one on your motor and use the big one on top. So right now I have my laser level shining right in this big V groove, and I've got my right angle, just to double check that I've got my laser dead nuts on. And sorry, I'm rotating you here. So I've got, that's, I know, is centered on where my belt goes. I've got my triangle here. I've marked a line that corresponds with where the laser is pointing on the table. So I know that that is in line with the pulley on the belt, and that's where I'm going to make holes. And then if you look underneath, the laser, I didn't get it quite right. I didn't get the hole quite right in the table. So you can see the laser's not quite in the middle of the treadle wheel. This is the treadle wheel. This is what is going to be powering my machine. And this is 6 millimeter green PU belting that I'm going to be using. This is from the other industrial machine I was using on this treadle. But I'm pretty close to, sorry, I must be in the way of the light. I'm close to being on the wheel, so it'll be good enough that it can go, the belt's stretchy and it can go at a little bit of an angle. So I've got it going up here. Sorry, I'm in the way of the laser. I know I made a mark on my table. I made a line with the Sharpie, and it goes up there. So that's how I know. Now I made a line on the table. That's how I know where I'm gonna drill my holes. So anyway, that's the setup. I'm gonna be using this wheel. Then over here, this is how I stretched it. This is basically a 1/2 inch copper water pipe. And then over here, I used a, I think it was a 6 inch. I can leave the details in the comments or do a still shot in the video. This is just a regular bolt, and it goes through the treadle leg, and there's a nut on the other side of this, in this copper pipe, and the bolt goes into that nut. That gives it strength. And then there's another nut on the inside of this copper pipe. The copper water pipe just happens to fit right around this hex nut, so it looks pretty, so you don't see the threads of the bolt. And then once the bolt comes through this side, you put a lock washer and you put another nut and you tighten it down, and there you go. And then your treadle is stretched out. So you do that at the bottom and at the top, and that's how you stretch your treadle. I'll leave information on the parts that you need to do for that, but it's very simple. Like if you look over here on this side, this has the original. There's just a bolt here and a bolt here, and you just take them out. They're the same on this side. You just take them out and stretch your treadle. Sorry, I'm rambling here. So anyway, so now I'm going to come up here and I'm going to try to figure out where this lines up with the wheel. So the belt's going to go around the wheel. It's going to come up and it's going to go to the hand wheel and back down. So I need to figure out where I'm cutting my hole here and my hole here. And for this, because I'm using the green belt, which you can just join over a candle, you do not have to make a big slot. I'm just going to make 2 little holes for the treadle wheel. And then if I want to put a servo motor on, I can make, probably it would have to be 2 more holes, or at least, 1 more hole. I just don't like to put a lot of holes in my wood if I don't have to. So next I'm going to try to line up the this way and this way. So I'm going to turn the treadle around, and I'm going to use my laser to shoot for this machine. And then I'm also going to take this out once I'm done and put the Mauzer machine in, and just to double check everything. Okay, so I'll be back in a little bit with the holes for the belt. Okay, so now I'm trying to figure out where to put the hole for the belt through the table, side to side, or I guess front to back. So I have the laser now lined up on the back side here where the, sorry, I'm in the way, where the belt comes off the treadle wheel. And then I've got it going up, crosses the table, and I've got it pretty much hitting the big pulley on the machine, and I can see that the laser line is pretty much parallel with the bed of the machine. So I drew a Sharpie mark here. This is the hole that I'm going to make for the belt. I already drew this line first by sighting the laser from the front, and now I'm sighting the laser from the back, side, and I know that this is the angle in which I'm going to want to make my hole go through the wood. So now I'm going to repeat that for the other side of the wheel, and then I'm going to come over here. I'll make 2 big holes. Okay, so for this you can use your drill, you can use a spade bit, or you can use a Forstner bit, or probably any number of other things to make a hole. I'm going to probably use a Forstner bit because they're just easier to control than a spade bit. So I'm going to sight my other side. I'm going to have some crosshairs, and I'm going to make a hole here, and I'll make a hole there, and then hopefully, I don't know if that belt will fit this machine because I had that belt on a industrial straight stitch. It might be too long, but hopefully we'll be in business, and we'll be up and sewing in just a few minutes. Okay, I'm going to pause the machine, and I'm going to locate the other side of the belt. Okay, so now I'm doing the hole for the other side for the front of the treadle wheel. You would do this exactly the same way if you had a servo mounted up underneath your table. I like to use the laser. It makes things easier. I mean, I'm not exact. It's not going to be perfect. I'm probably still going to be off, and I'm probably still going to have to use the round rasp to modify my holes, but at least this gets me pretty close. So I've got my laser now lined up on the front of the treadle wheel, got it going up, and I've got it kind of hitting about where the bigger part of the pulley on the hand wheel is, and I can see that the line is parallel across the bed of my machine, so I know that I'm lined up perpendicular. So I put a piece of tape down, and I drew a Sharpie mark, and this right here, this cross is where the hole is going to go, and then I also put a Sharpie mark here on the edge of the table so that I know that that's the angle of the hole that I'm going to make for the belt over here. Okay, so I'm going to go get my drill and make a hole. Okay, so welcome back. So I'm getting ready to put my holes in for my belt. So right now I'm using my drill, and I've got in it a Forstner bit. This makes a very nice hole. Hopefully that's in focus. It makes a very nice hole. It's just makes a big hole. It's called a Forstner bit. It's like a spade bit, only this is just much easier to control. I mean, if you're doing, rough-in framing, a spade bit is great for running electrical through your studs, but this is much better for going through wood slowly and carefully. It doesn't get sucked through like a spade bit, so I'm always going to be using these. We have a set of them. And I chose the 7/8 inch size because if my hole is wrong, I'm going to come back with my round rasp, which happens to be 3/4 of an inch. So if I get my hole wrong, I can get my rasp in and I can enlarge my hole some other way. So I'm just going to drill a hole now. I'm making sure that there's nothing on the bottom. And I know I'm going to go through here on an angle. So I'm putting it on my my crosshairs. You just got to be close. And I'm going to look at that angle that I was supposed to be at. And I'm going to start upright. And And like I said, I make sure I'm not going to hit anything on the bottom. My table is not attached yet because I want to put the machine on and be able to scoot the table around for the final adjustment. So I'm going to start straight up, and then I'm going to look over. I'm looking over here off the side. I'm going to start to tilt my bit, tilt my drill. Hopefully I'm in the crosshairs. I'm going to tilt my drill bit. See, I'm scooting away. Looks like I'm in line. Might have to clamp this if it keeps scooting away. I'll put my knee on it. I'm kind of an aggressive person with the tools, and I always push hard. So you can see that the Forstner bit goes pretty slow, so I have lots of control, and it doesn't really grab or anything like a hole saw might grab and, you know, toss the drill out of your hand. But you just want to be careful you don't go too far to the side and it grabs. Okay, I'm trying to keep an eye on that. I'm trying to stay parallel. It helps to take your tool out and clean out the hole. Oak is pretty hard wood. I think I might clamp. Yeah, I think I'm gonna clamp this here real quick. Grab a clamp. So it'll stop scooting away. Let's see. This will work. Okay. Are we on? Yeah, we're on. Okay. Okay, I need a bigger clamp. Okay, there we go. All right, now we should be in business. Okay, back to the drilling. Still kind of walking away, sliding on the floor. I tell you, this oak is hard stuff. So I'm kind of checking. I'm going slow. You don't want to push too hard and have it bust out the backside and make a big splinter on the backside. Checking, trying to get it on. This, jammed up here. I have to get that out so I can. Most likely this isn't going to be right, so I'm probably going to have to make some modifications with the round rasp. Gosh, see that? All the wood's stuck in the bit, so it's not really working very well. Okay, I'm getting close. I think the little point on the drill has poked through the bottom, so I'm going to go kind of careful so it doesn't like just blow out the bottom. My bit keeps getting jammed. Sure I'm not hitting the stand. Okay, that's one. Hopefully we're close. Okay, now I'm going to do this one. So I'm going to go around to the other side. I'll make the second hole and I'll be back because I know you guys find this really thrilling, but you probably don't want to sit through the whole entire thing. So I'll make the second hole now, but I really wanted to show you the whole process so you can really understand what's involved, okay? I'm just, doing this because I want any of you out there that are new to feel comfortable. Okay, so I'm gonna do the other hole and then I'll be back. Okay, so welcome back. So I'm holding my belt right here, the two ends, because I had to cut it to get it through the table, so I can't let go. So I drilled my 2 holes, and I've got my belt wrapped around my treadle wheel. I suppose I could have tied a string of yarn or whatever, and then I wouldn't have to hold it with my hand. But in any case, I got my belt on my treadle wheel. I got my holes pretty good, but I can tell you that that one is not good. And that one I'm going to have to make bigger. So it's a good thing I will just use the round rasp, and I will just make that a little bigger. This one lined up pretty good. I can't complain on that. I don't know if you can, let me see if you, how can you see that? It's close. I might make it a little bigger, a little oval or something, but it'll be easy enough to do with the round rasp. Love that round rasp. That's like my favorite tool. So I'll make that one probably 1/2 inch longer towards the back, but that's easy. And then I might just make this one a little bigger towards the front, although it's pretty good clean right through, so maybe I won't touch that one. At least if I make the one in the back bigger, you know, you won't see it as much. So I'm holding my belt because I have to join that with the candle. But I'm going to join the belt, and I'll let go of the belt for now. But I will say that I measured, so my leg is right here. It's under the table. It's not attached yet. That way I can scoot my machine around. But I measured, and I don't know, it's completely arbitrary, but I've got 2 7/8 to the leg. And over here at this leg, I measured also. It's a little crooked. I'll have to straighten that out before I screw it down. But I got about like 2 7/8. I wrote a note to remind me, from the leg forward to the edge of the table. So now I'm gonna make this hole bigger. I will test fit the belt again, and then I'm gonna put the Mauzer machine in the table and make sure that the belt works with the Mauzer machine. And then I am almost done. What I'm planning to do with this, I got some stain. I'm gonna just stain this raw edge. Fingers crossed I got the right color. I don't know. But I'm gonna just stain that raw edge, and then maybe I'll put 1 coat of, like, give a light sand to the top and put 1 coat of water-soluble varnish on. I did sand the edge a little bit earlier before I came inside, just, you know, kind of to smooth it out a little bit and make it easier on your wrist if you're leaning on it. So I'm going to enlarge the hole, put the belt on, screw the top down, and I will say that to attach the top, I'm just using these little screws here. I think they're like 1.25 inches, and they just go up through the treadle legs and screw into the wood top. So I'm gonna do all this stuff, and I will be right back. Okay? Okay, so I was just about ready to join the green belt, and then I thought, I don't like the white wood showing out of the holes, so I figured, I'd paint the holes with the stain that I got. And then I'm like, I'll just paint the whole table. So I did just the edge of the table, only where I had cut and sanded the dining room table. So I painted inside the holes with the stain, and I painted this cutout, although I guess it didn't get there very well. So I painted the cutout, and I painted the edge. So if you look carefully, you can actually see that the edge is not the same color, but I don't know, from back here it looks pretty nice. So what I did was I used this stuff here. It's a wood stain, and it's a 1 coat fast drying. It was, you can see it's not really on my hands. It was soap and water cleanup. But basically this dining room table, it already has like a polyurethane finish on the top. So I just needed to do the sides. So I just painted the sides with the paintbrush with the stain, and then I just wiped it off, and it came off, and it seems very nice. It's not coming off. It says dries in 1 hour. So it seems dry already though. So I did inside the holes first, and then I did the outside. So I just wanted to make it look a little nicer. So you can see I did kind of sand the edge a little bit. Then I put the stain on. It made it very nice looking. So next thing is I'm gonna put the machine in, connect up the belt, attach it to the table with the screws, and start making chain stitches. Okay, so I will be back after I put the belt together. And I do have another video in Chain Stitch Embroidery YouTube channel that shows you how to attach the green belt. So I'm not going to go into that now, but I just thought I'd show you how the table looks now that I have stained it. I think it came out actually pretty nice. I mean, for a dining room table, you know, it looks pretty nice. Anyway, okay, I'll be back once I get the belt together and the machine and the table. Okay, so my treadle table is all finished. I got my belt put together, and I've got it on my treadle wheel, and I have my Mauzer machine in my table. It was, you know, I mean, it did take me a fair amount of time today, but I was also, you know, trying to record and stop and start. But it's not difficult. Anyone can make a table like this. So basically, right now, I have my belt hooked up to my treadle wheel. It's going to my lovely Mauzer chain stitch embroidery machine, and I have my thread sitting on the floor. Haven't really looked into this too much. Thread path is very important, but right now it's sitting on the floor on my sponge, going to my thread stand, and then just straight up to the machine. And I do have the paddle there, so it's going into the paddle, and that's my setup. So now I am electricity free, doing people power, and I can make my machine sew. So hold on a minute and I'll show you that. Hey everybody, I wanted to show you the finished table product that I made, and I'm going to just do a little quick demonstration of the treadle wheel. So basically I'm ready to go, and I'm going to put my fabric under, drop my foot down. So now when you start using the treadle wheel, especially with the chain stitch machine where the wheel has to go in the opposite direction, it goes this way of most machines, you want to start with your hand on the wheel and get it going, and then you start pedaling. So it takes a little bit of getting used to, but I'm starting, and now I got my pedal going, and now I can do my stitching. So the treadle wheel is actually kind of fun, and it's easy to do. So you can see the machine is stitching nicely on my tabletop that I made, my easy tabletop. Okay, so thanks for watching, and hopefully that will help you and inspire you to make your own table.